This is the first generation Maruti 800. It was in production from 1983 to 1986. There's a lot of interesting history about this car and how it was incepted and who was responsible for it. Yeah, so this was affectionately called as the people's car because this was the first time that a car such as this was affordable to the common masses. Whereas back in the day, most of the cars like the Ambassadors and Contessas were only for the elite rich, and the common people just couldn't afford such a car. So that's when Maruti introduced this car, and it was an instant hit because most of the people could easily afford it. And it was also projected as a very reliable Japanese engineered car. So that was one thing that really stuck with the masses. So there's actually a very interesting history about this vehicle. The concept of an affordable car was mooted way back in 1950s by the government of India, but it only saw realization 3 decades later in 1980. And the person responsible for this was Mr. Sanjay Gandhi, the son of the then PM of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Mr. Sanjay Gandhi just returned to India in 1968 after he finished his internship in Rolls-Royce, London, and he was the best man for this because he had an idea about vehicles and he was really interested to bring this concept alive. So hence he started this project of making an affordable car, and he started with the name that is the Maruti Private Limited brand. And this Maruti name actually comes from a Hindu mythology called the son of the wind god. So he started this project and he got the lands for it, he got the factory set up. But from the very beginning, this project had a lot of complications. It was labeled as a corrupt project by the opposition government, and the project got stalled because of the way they received funds and the way they pulled strings to make this happen. Also the land acquired, they alleged that it got so cheap. So there were a lot of issues while doing this project for Sanjay Gandhi. And then in 1977, the Janata Dal government actually stopped the project because of the corruption allegations. And even more bad news ensued for Maruti Private Limited. That is, Mr. Sanjay Gandhi unfortunately passed away in a tragic plane crash in 1980. That was a big blow for Maruti. But later, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, she made it a point to get this company back on its foot in order to recognize Mr. Sanjay Gandhi's passion for this project. And rightly so, as soon as she got back to power, first thing she did was she made Maruti into a nationalized company, and Maruti started looking for joint ventures from global players across the world. And even then, initially Maruti had an issue because Volkswagen and Daihatsu failed in their negotiations with Maruti. So finally what happened was there was Suzuki from Japan who signed the deal with Maruti on 2nd October 1982. The first car was launched then on 14th December 1983. That was the birth anniversary of Mr. Sanjay Gandhi. The first car was actually handed over to Mr. Harpal Singh from Delhi. He won the car through a lucky draw, and it costed him around 50,000 rupees, I think, for the car that time. And the keys for that car was handed over to him by none other than Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister of India. So that's how special the first generation Maruti 800 was for the Indian masses. So another interesting fact was Mr. Harpal Singh passed away in 2010, and he never sold off the car. The car was still within his family right now, but unfortunately they are unable to afford the maintenance cost of it, and it's actually kind of in a bad shape. It's rusting nearby their home. And I hope Maruti can restore it and bring it back to its old glory and have it in a museum or something, because it's a classical car with a very rich heritage and history. So you shouldn't let such a car die. And I hope Maruti will do the right thing. Other interesting facts about the Maruti 800 was that although this car was very affordable at 50,000 rupees back in the day, but not all customers were lucky enough to get this vehicle because the car was actually given through a lucky draw system for their customers. So even if you had the money, there's no guarantee that you will get the vehicle. So because of this, many cars actually got into the second-hand market or the black market, and they actually started selling for 50,000 rupees over the sticker price of this vehicle. So that's how much demand this car had. And secondly, the other interesting thing about this vehicle is back in the day it was actually the first front wheel drive vehicle in the country, because all the other cars like the Contessa and Ambassadors were rear wheel drive setup. Thirdly, many celebrities actually owned the Maruti 800. Some of the celebrities were Sachin Tendulkar, Shah Rukh Khan, and even our ex-PM Mr. Manmohan Singh owned the Maruti 800. In the first production year of Maruti 800, it actually sold a staggering 850 units, while the total passenger vehicle sales was around just 40,000 units in the country back in the day. So that was a staggering amount from a single vehicle. Fifth point is, this vehicle actually has a very good resale value. Even in today's market, for a well-maintained car like the first generation Maruti 800 can fetch you around 2 lakh rupees. And not so good stat about the Maruti 800 was that, according to the FIRs collected from the National Crime Records Bureau, 3 lakh people have died from accidents involving the Maruti 800. So it's actually not a very safe car. Actually, when you combine all the generations together, the Maruti 800, it's actually the second longest production vehicle in India after the Ambassador. So it was produced right from 1983 till 2014. And in that period, it has sold around 2.6 million units. Another funny stat about the Maruti 800 is that it actually happened in Pakistan. This is the highest number of stolen vehicles in Pakistan, and the most preferred color for thieves was white color. Another interesting fact about the vehicle is that the gear shift was actually floor mounted in the Maruti 800, and this is the first time that a car gets such a setup for the gearbox, because all the other vehicles in the day actually had column mounted gear shift. So this is actually a very rare car because it was in production only for 3 years, from 1983 to 1986. So you'll actually see a lot fewer of these cars in today's roads. So the second generation car was in production for around 11 to 12 years, and that was actually a totally different car. It was all new except for the engine. And that is most probably the car that you will see on the roads today, but you will never see this car because this is very rare since it was just in production for 3 years. Now, talking about this particular car, this is actually a 1985 model Maruti 800, the first generation car. It was codenamed the SS80. It was affectionately called the People's Car. This car actually had the 3-cylinder 796cc engine with the Mikuni carburetor. It has a front wheel drive setup with the monocoque chassis, and it has a horsepower of 39 bhp at 6000 rpm and 59 newton meter torque at 3500 rpm. It does a 0 to 100 sprint of around 21 seconds, and it has a top speed of 120 kilometers per hour. So that's the stats for the Maruti 800. Now, it isn't actually all about the stats. It isn't about its performance or its build quality. This car was actually projected as just a reliable family car for 5 people, and it takes you safely from point A to point B. That's all about this car. But the main thing about this car is its rich history and all the memories that a family had with this vehicle, which is unforgettable. Just like me, we had a lot of unforgettable memories with this car, and that's the reason I wanted to make a review of this vehicle. Yeah guys, so this is actually the owner of the vehicle. It's my uncle, Mr. Jayapal. Yeah uncle, so can you please give us your experience about how you purchased this vehicle in 1985?
Yes, okay, 1985, when I was working in state of Bahrain in the Gulf country, then we got application for this registration of new booking. So we got 3 people booked, and out of 3 people, I am the first one I got the application. So it was a very nice car, very small car, affordable and beautiful car. Actually we liked so much that time, and we got it 1985 March, I think. We got this one through popular agency from Trivandrum. Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
so yeah, as you heard from the man himself, this vehicle was purchased by him, and actually it was more with us than it was with him, because he actually had gone back to Bahrain, and the car was actually with all our family members here back in India, and it has done a lot of trips. We have a lot of memories with this vehicle, and my uncles, the other uncles actually had taken it out of state to Bangalore and Karnataka, wherever, a lot of other states. But the bad part about having it owned by someone else was that they don't actually maintain this vehicle, and because of that, this vehicle actually, it was in a very bad condition. And this is actually common. It's inherent characteristics of Indians. Actually, we actually would just take care of our own properties better. So that's what happened with this vehicle. It wasn't maintained well, and much later my uncle's son, that is my cousin Mr. Eriks, he's the one who had taken this vehicle, had painstakingly repaired it, got it restored, and it was actually in a good running condition when it was with him. And right now, due to the age, this vehicle is actually in bad shape again. And since I had a lot of good childhood memories with this vehicle, I'm indebted to actually help my uncle in rectifying this vehicle. So I'm planning to actually source most of the parts for my uncle, so that he can fix this vehicle as soon as possible and bring it back to its old glory. So before I end this vlog, I just want to take it out for a small spin. I'm not sure how long it can go safely without stalling or stopping, but just take it for a small spin and bring it back just for the sake of good old memories. So we're actually starting the Maruti 800 right now. started with one crank itself. Whoa. Okay, there's a lot of noise from the silencer, and as I mentioned before, we need to fix the silencer, and the clutch is actually a bit hard, and even that needs rectification. For a 35-year-old car, it's not bad actually, it's really good. Especially for your normal village runs, it's not bad. It's running pretty fine. The steering is good. Obviously there's no power steering in this vehicle. There's no air condition also. But it feels so good. It really brings back good old memories. I'm really enjoying driving this car actually. Look at the horn. Beep beep horn. It's really nice to drive. Power isn't adequate, but back in the day it was enough. It's enough now also if you're just going slow. But the car is really small. And the clutch action is actually a bit strange because it doesn't push all the way in. I think there's an issue with the clutch cylinder, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. The noise is a bit annoying. We'll fix that soon. So guys, if any of you know a good place to source the original parts for this vehicle, if there is any, online or in the stores nearby or in cities nearby you, please hit it up in the comment section below or get in touch with me, because I need to source parts for this vehicle pretty cheaply. It'll really be helpful for me. The gearbox isn't bad. Gearbox is fine, shifting okay, but the clutch feels a bit awkward. It's very nostalgic actually driving this vehicle right now. Brings back good old memories. Actually everyone knows this vehicle because it's that famous. It's very rare car, and this was the only car back in from 1985 till 1987. No one else had this car in Kanyakumari. So that's how special this car is. Everyone knows it even till date. So they keep inquiring about this car. So as you saw the drive is really good, except for a few niggles like the silencer rattling noise and the clutch issue. This car is actually pretty good. You just have to sort out those niggles, and hopefully we'll sort it out and take it for a spin again later. Well, I know some people don't like maintaining an old car like this because it's a relic and it's on its way out. But for me at least, I feel I have a personal connection to cars such as these because we have an emotional bond, especially for the good memories that it has given us all these years. So just for that sake, I would want to revive this car and keep it alive in the family. And obviously it requires a lot of money and time to keep these cars running. But I think it's worth it because this particular first generation car is a really special car for Indians, for what it has done for most of the masses in India. So if it was me, I would revive this car and keep it as long as possible and never sell it off. Anyway, thanks for watching guys. If you did like the video, please do hit the like button and please don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, it's Stan signing out. Bye bye.